right, everybody. Welcome back to yet another Time and Space pod. This one, if you're hearing my voice, means it is a Minisode, ladies and
True.
gentlemen. We're back again. Jordan Hirsch, Francis Donald. We gave Wayne the night off, much deserved at this point. And we're excited to be here with you guys, talk a little lacrosse, remote, as you can see. Everybody's in their own spots. Jordy over there, Francis over there, myself right there.
Me right here.
Right here. Guys, how was your week? How's your week been thus far?
Solid week. In my world, kids are going back to school. As some of you know, I work at a school, so we're figuring out how to get everybody back to campus, get these kids back in school, back amongst their friends. Lacrosse practice starts tomorrow for the Bishops Knights, middle school guys, so we're looking forward to it. Actually, on a more serious note, one of our players' fathers passed away last week. He's an eighth grader on my team, and I went to the service for his dad early this week, and we talk about lacrosse and we talk about community, and every time we talk on the podcast, it comes up. But what was really great to see is, this young man is a lacrosse player. His sister is a lacrosse player, and his sister's team was all there. This young man's coaches, who I'm one of his coaches, but his other coaches were all there. Some of his teammates and classmates, and they gave an opportunity for everybody at the service to speak up and say a few words about this player's father, and a couple people from the lacrosse community stood up and spoke to their experiences with this player's dad, and what he meant to them as fellow parents, what he meant to them as the young man's coaches. And so it was really interesting to see lacrosse permeate a situation like that, where there was obviously a lot of sadness and a lot of grieving, but the happiness, the joy that came through and reflecting this young man, his dad, and what they meant to the lacrosse community and what they will continue to mean. So really cool moment here in San Diego, but definitely sad for our young man who lost his dad last week. So keeping our eye on him.
Awesome. We're sorry to hear, but again, that's why we love the sport. That's why we love the relationships it founds, really, honestly. Still friends to this day that Jordan knows that I have from the lacrosse world, and some awesome lacrosse parents out there. So again, sorry to hear for your young student, Francis. Jordy, how we doing?
Yeah, it's been a week here. Weather's been solid, little bit of rain, as what comes in April in the Northeast. Lacrosse starts next week. It's been a good week of school. We start starting up on Monday. So very excited to get out on the field. Really cool. So at the school that I coach at, brand new turf facility, was not able to be used last season, not for all the obvious reasons. And it's so funny. And Shawnee, you played at that school as well.
Mm-hmm.
And
Great school.
Great school. And Francis knows the school well. I always felt like we had an advantage because our field was so rough. It was like dirt, grass, rocks, like dry.
Crown in the middle.
Yeah. You never know what you're going to step on or roll your ankle on.
And I got to tell you, this field now is beautiful. It is pristine. It's clean. It's got brand new fencing, a brand new track surrounding it, netting. I can't believe what I see when I see it. And it's funny, like, I don't feel as connected to it. It's kind of a weird thing to say because I mean, this is the town I grew up in. I played there. I've coached there for a dozen years. I don't feel as connected to the field. I'm not saying that I don't want this because it's great and the kids deserve it. But Shawnee will tell you, one of the first things we did when I started coaching at Hendrick Hudson was I took them down to that grass field and I took a chunk of the grass and I put it in my hand. I was like, this is our grass. Like it was something we could hang our hat on, you know? Might have even, legend has it, I might have even taken a bite out of it. We don't know.
Oh, wow.
Happened.
Did you spit it out?
Yeah.
Or
You might have taken a bite.
But I don't know. I got caught up in the moment, but that was the connection I had to that field. With all that being said, very excited to get out on the turf and connect to that. So pretty cool stuff going on.
Totally. Distinct advantage with bouncers. And listen, I've had a couple questions brewing this week. Couple fun questions. I think we'll do a little this, little that. Here's one for you, social media guys. Instagram or Twitter? You got to ditch one.
That's easy for him.
Yeah, I've barely dipped my toe in the pool that is
the
known
cesspool
as, that
is known as Twitter.
That is known as Twitter. Jordan just started following me on Twitter the other day, which I really appreciated. I think he might be one of 5 people that follow me. It may potentially less, but yeah, I'm an Instagram guy. I bought in a long time ago. Shout out to Aaron Byrne for getting me started on Instagram. Yeah.
Oh, she's very. You just did that.
Yeah, I'm all in on. I'm a visual guy. I don't want to read a bunch of random text. I want to see pictures first. So
I'm going to say this: we've just started to really up our Twitter game in terms of our time and space. Twitter handle. I started a Twitter for myself so I could represent our team. I would not be surprised if Francis and Sean followed suit and started getting into lacrosse Twitter a little bit, because it is a sight to see.
I dabble.
So, however, with that being said, and for those of you who watched our debate about TikTok and Reels, I am all in on Instagram. I love Instagram. I think, again, same thing. I'm visual, easy doom scroll, super easy doom scroll when you're bored. And guys, I still don't have TikTok, but I'm in on Reels. Like, I'm all in on Reels.
Wow.
What I've noticed is like the TikTok situation kind of transfers to Reels.
Right. So you're basically in on TikTok.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Low key, mid key. I don't know if that's
kind of transfers. But yeah.
TikTok's funny, man. It's like, I really don't want anything to do with the app itself, but I do like the transitions that you can create or seemingly create. Not that I really know how they do that, but yeah, it's pretty good stuff. So yeah, I've turned a corner on TikTok.
When are we going to see
creative people there?
Yeah. When are we going to see the Jordan Hirsch, the coach Hirsch? He's wearing his teacher's outfit, and then he jumps and lands, and his outfit changes to lacrosse coach outfit, which may be the same outfit, just with a hat.
Well, let me say this. 6 months ago, whenever we started this podcast, I was all out on TikTok. Now I'm interested. I'm interested at the very least in TikTok. Maybe in another 6 months if Sean shows me how to use it. Maybe.
All right. I'll take that. That's a firm maybe in my book. So that works. All right. Good stuff.
You can pencil that in.
I'll pencil it in. Maybe a little bit of pen, but pencil. All right. Here's a question. So would you rather be stuck in a grocery store for 5 days or just a regular room for 2 days without food? This is what goes on in my head.
So when you say grocery store, there's like your local grocery store, or there's like Wegmans, like Pittsburgh,
I could
Wegmans,
live
flagship Wegmans, right?
We'll say you're
for those of you who don't know what Wegmans is the like one of the number one places to work in the country. The company, it started out of Rochester, New York. It is a supermarket, but it's also a home. It's a place you walk in. They've got at the flagship Wegmans, you walk in and they've got the pre-made food, and they've got the deli, and they've got the sushi. Somebody making the sushi live. You can go there. You can get your food. You can sit. You can go there on a Wednesday night and watch a movie while you eat your sub from the sub counter. And then they've got everything else on under the sun. It's basically like Whole Foods meets Trader Joe's, meets your regular grocery store, but at an affordable price. It's very nice. All over the Northeast.
So again, if Wegmans, if you want to jump in on this and sponsor us, we will talk about you for at least a minute. At least.
Yeah. So here's the thing: like, do I get ESPN in Wegmans or not?
You're hanging out by yourself in a solo room for 2 days with no food, or you're in Wegmans with other people, not the flagship Wegmans, and you're there. You have 5 days to kill in this building, in the supermarket.
5 days to kill. I'm going Wegmans all day. I don't want to go 2 days without food.
Yeah, it's tough.
Even if I have my phone. Do I have my phone? Do I have my phone in Wegmans?
Yeah, you have your phone. It's like you went in there and the door locked. You're like, oh no. Or it's like being stuck in an elevator shaft for 2 days. You're like, oh, this sucks without food.
To me, Jordy, Wegmans shoppers, we will now be closing for 5 days, and you can't leave.
To me, this is an obvious yes on Wegmans for 5 days. I would probably do that voluntarily.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what.
Is there some sort of a program we can join?
Like a testing I'd be down for that, honestly. You know what? Wegmans could be like a bigger discussion on how to build culture and how to grow people. And like that could be a whole thing. And you can relate that to team building, et cetera, et cetera. Could be cool.
We went to college with
Wegman.
We did. One Wegman.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Right? Tim Wegman.
Not Tim Horton. Tim Wegman.
Whoa, Timmy Hose.
One thing I've been wondering, if you watch the game like I do, I'm constantly trying to learn something. I want to see something maybe with skill development, something with strategy. So I was wondering if either of you guys, while you've been watching some lacrosse so far this season, any strategy or skills of a certain player that stick out to you?
I don't know. I feel like I've been ball watching this year quite a bit. I don't know that my head's been on a swivel. Things that I look for are defensive recoveries. I'm always watching the recoveries and seeing how defenses do once they slide to the ball. And when they're switching, and I'm trying to figure out defensive rules. I'm a defensive guy, right? So, are they switching across the top? And how early are they sliding? Are they sliding at all? Are they hedging? Is it a backer situation? Whatever it might be. One of the things that I'm also trying to do is identify, the offensive scheme in general and figure out, who they're looking to go at, who's the matchup right now. You'll hear me yelling at the screen like, no, he's not the guy. He's not the guy. Like calling out the matchups like I'm on the sidelines. One thing that I've seen a lot this year, I think, are a lot of razor picks from like the low wing and from X. I think that with the type of, let's say Duke, with the type of attackman that they have, I think getting those guys into a mismatch situation, especially our guy, number 23, and number 34, those guys are matchup issues if you don't get the right guys on them. So I think that presents a nice opportunity to get some switches going and let those guys do their thing.
True. I think for me, Jordan, this year is what I've been watching pretty closely is I just think back to 10 years ago, 15 years ago, not that long ago, but 10 to 15 years ago. I think about techniques of shooting, right? Like when you're learning to shoot, right, there's a fundamental way to learn. But again, there are guys that can shoot really hard overhand, high to low. There are guys that it might not work out as well for them. But I'm just thinking about the levels at which these guys can shoot. I'm thinking again, like we talked about O'Neal on Duke, how he's able to generate that insane amount of width, that insane power from his shot as a freshman. And he is such a, I guess you could say, different. I don't want to say non-fundamental by any means, but I think of how, like, I'm a big fan of watching how guys shoot, right? So like when I'm watching
Mhm.
the NBA, how guys shoot the ball. When I'm watching golf, how guys swing. My guy Matsuyama, who just won the Masters, he literally pauses
Oh,
at the top, which nobody else does. He has such a unique way of swinging, and he generates just as much power as the next guy. But everybody's different in that sense too, and it's kind of like their own signature in a way, their signature style. Tierney's been a fun guy to watch at Hofstra too,
wow,
with
right?
his feeding and shooting. Very under the radar. We need him on a national level game soon.
Agreed.
But again, that's just really what I've been looking at is guys scoring from a variety of different ways, um, places on the field, and it's been a fun year. It's been a good year for goals, and it's been a fun year to watch some of these guys really operate and work.
Goals. Jordan, what do you see?
So I'll start piggybacking off of what Sean was saying. Our coach in college, he was a high to low guy. That's how you shot the ball. There was not
Mhm.
much variation that was really allowed. When I started coaching, and specifically at Lynchburg, I came up with the saying, hammered the nail, right? So you want to hammer the nail, shoot it overhand. Um, One of the best players that I've ever coached, his name's Dylan Hoff. He is now the offensive coordinator at Gettysburg College. And we were texting a couple weeks ago, catching up. Um, had a nice phone conversation with him, and we got into talking about shooting technique and how it's changed. He was one guy that I never told him how to shoot it. He was so talented dropping his hands that I never wanted to tell him not to. So what he said to me was, he tells his guys, you should be able to hammer the nail. That's got to be your first thing. But when you get really good at construction, sometimes you have to hammer the nail into the ceiling. So that's the low to high.
Wow.
Just
Wow.
full circle, unbelievable. So shout out to Dylan Hoff.
Okay.
Just the brilliant, brilliant guy, young coach. He's a star in the making. He's a total star in the making. So
Don't
that just,
hassle the Hoff.
you don't hassle the Hoff. So that just came to mind when Sean was talking about different ways to score. One thing I've been seeing offensively, strategically, it's just something I've noticed. Um, the alley dodge is still around, but the pairs action or mirror action on the wing, that's the new alley dodge. Everybody's
Yeah.
running their own variation of it, which I love. It's my favorite offensive action. Pass down, pick down, super in vogue right now. I personally like when teams will throw the ball around the perimeter and pick as the ball is in motion. So if the ball is coming from behind the goal to the wing, that top midfielder from like the slot area would be coming down to set a screen so that the defense turns into the screen. Something that I think is really good action. It's really tough to guard. Something in basketball, right, that they say is really hard to defend is when one defender has to defend multiple actions. I'm starting to see that in lacrosse a lot more. So you have a defender that might have to defend a ball screen and then have to defend an off ball screen almost instantaneously, or defend an on ball screen and then have to decide, am I switching, am I staying, and then a hard cut. So I'm seeing that start to unfold a little bit this season, a little more than I have in the past. Maybe I'm just paying a little more attention to it. I want to give a shout out once again to Notre Dame's defense.
Oh.
Unfortunately, fortunately, I don't know. It depends on who you like. They took down the Orange. I was saying unfortunately because of Shawnee. Took down the Orange. Here's what I noticed the most about their defense. They are so skilled in when and when not to slide. So they never create offense for the other team. They hold their places, their juxtaposition to the ball, and their man is flawless. And it was on display against Syracuse this past weekend. So that's something I think is worth mentioning. That really got me kind of excited in a nerdy way for lacrosse. So those are the things I was looking at this weekend.
As Coach Randall always told us, great individual defense leads to great team defense. And we always used to laugh at how simple that was. But if you can do your individual role, right, then you don't have to think about sliding quite as much. And I almost feel as a defensive guy, I almost feel like defense got to a place where people were just sliding proactively because they just wanted to be in a position to help so badly that I think there's been a little bit of a de-emphasis in in one's individual defensive ability. Not at every program, but just in general across the board. I don't think that people are teaching defense the same way. I don't think players take the same sort of pride in the ability to guard the ball, especially the ability to put the ball on the ground. Part of that might be that the game has moved, the technology has moved in a way, the players are really good. It's harder to take the ball away. But I think that as somebody that took a lot of pride in guarding the ball one-on-one and not being slid to, right? At NAS, like people would get pissed off if you slid to them when they thought that they were fine. So, I definitely hear that, but yeah, I agree. Notre Dame is showing out right now, and I think that the teams that team like Syracuse is maybe not quite as buttoned up in the individual defensive ability area, and so that's where they tend to struggle. So we'll see how it goes down the road. But
let me ask you this as a defensive guy. It's a conversation that I've had with some other coaches, specifically in basketball. Do you feel like having your slide package like super aggressive, let's just say, that's like a nice way to say like we're going to slide all the time? Do you feel like on-ball defensemen then in their mind kind of feel like, well, I have a bailout if I get beat?
Well, it's that question when you're teaching defense to a group of high school kids and you say, this is our first side and this is our second slide. And then some kid always goes, well, what happens if that guy gets beat? And as a coach, you're like, well, why would that guy get beat? Right? And if that's your mentality, you're missing the whole point, right? We're setting up these systems in case, right? This is insurance, as Chris Rock says. Insurance is in case, right? In case happens, right, then we can go to these extra precautions. But rule number one, right, guard the ball, right, and do your job. And what I see in a lot of defensemen, Division I defensemen, is I see sticks at hips. I see kids that aren't backpedaling when somebody approaches them with the ball. There's a lot of really little fundamental things, and I get it. I'm like a washed up former Division III player and coach and yada, yada, yada. But I see a lot of a poor individual defense, even at the Division I level. And I just wonder how much of that time, it's not that coaches don't know it, but I wonder how much of the time is going more to systems than going to the development of individual players.
So I thought rule number one was do the goalie dirty.
I think this is a defensive rule number one.
Yeah.
Defensive rule number one, don't get run by.
There you go.
You heard it here first. Yeah, I think
are we a Notre Dame podcast too now?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that
they play good defense.
Maybe we're overcompensating for the last couple of weeks. The pendulum swings hard, right? But I think we're an equal opportunity podcast.
True that.
Yeah. You know who I like? Who is defenseman I like? I like Rutgers defenseman. I see them approaching the ball really well. Great fundamental approaches. That's what defense is all about, the approach. So,
That's
I think that
that's what life is all about, the approach.
right, right. How you address the ball carrier. No, I love defense. I think there's an art to defense that some people don't understand. Coaches who don't know the game well throw a kid at defense because they don't think that they can play offense. And I think that there's a lot of skill to be taught in being a defender and a lot of pride. This kid Will Bowen at UNC, number 24. He's a guy that really showed out against Virginia this past weekend. So really great to see, and great to hear the broadcasters talking about a defenseman and sort of picking apart that aspect of the game.
Question for both of you: does defense win championships, or does scoring more goals than the other team win championships?
One of those, you got to score to win.
Scoring goals wins championships.
But
defense can win games, though. Think about it.
Okay, you heard it here first. We don't buy into that. We don't buy into that. Defense wins championships.
Long stick middies that can take the ball away and run down the field and score. # Jared Connors. Those are the guys that win championships for you. Just say the long stick midi position to me is one that is underdeveloped in lacrosse. It's my opinion that a long stick midi should be able to actively take the ball away from offensive players. Like, that is their role on the field. You have a stick that's twice as long and you're guarding midfielders. You should have it within your tool belt to take the ball away and then to run down the field and to score a goal, period. That's the position. If you're not doing that, I don't know what you're doing.
I feel like
very fair point.
So I feel like timing is everything in terms of like being able to be aggressive, right? So I sent you guys a video, I think it was on the Powell Lacrosse Instagram, of Willie Pasavia taking the ball away from someone 15 years ago or however long.
Chris Pasavia.
Chris Pasavia. Chris Pasavia. But
of Maryland fame and Boston Cannons, I think, right?
I think so. But shout out to Willie, right? He doesn't get enough love.
His little brother, Willie.
So Chris Pasavia, how does he take the ball away? He's just super aggressive when the guy is not a threat.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
It's knowing when to take your chances and knowing when and how to be imposing.
And having the feet and the motor to do it, right?
No doubt.
Those are the players.
You shouldn't be doing it on the goal line extended. You should be doing it when the kid's just looking to pass the ball. If you're a ball mover, throw something. As an offensive guy, that was the worst. When I knew I couldn't get a perimeter pass off without getting a check on my gloves. It's tough.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that's the position will come back to that. It's lost its luster a bit. In general, there are certainly players, I'm sure, that are doing these things, but we've gotten really specific to the long stick midi position, which, for those of you who can't tell, was my position. A lot of pride in the long stick midi game, but I just don't see guys out there throwing checks, actively trying to, ball hawking, right? Trying to get the ball out of people's sticks. And I think that's a coaching thing. I think coaches are telling you to play position. They're telling you not to get beat. Yes, you don't want to get beat, but I think as an LSM, you got to be proactive out there.
Yeah,
very true.
And at the same time, now everybody's saying long stick middies are basically offensive players. So
true.
Yeah, I think the offensive side of things, they've gotten great, right? Kids can shoot. kids are making the right decision in the transition game. But I want to see some checks. I want to see some can openers. I want to see some ding dongs. I want to see some Batman checks with the Robin recovery. I want to see it all. I want to see the butt ends making an appearance.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to see it. I want to see a kayak. Come on. First Division I coach who allows their long stick midi to go out there and throw checks can be on the podcast. How about that? Let's throw it out
there. There we go.
And
it's coveted opportunity.
If there's any other Division I coaches that just want to be on the podcast, just let us know.
Yeah. Just
come on over. We'll have you.
Your kids can throw whatever checks they want. Just tell us if they want.
You know what the problem is? There's not enough long stick middies who are head coaches. Too many offensive guys.
Yeah. Too many offensive guys.
Petra.
So offensive guys and goalies. They either just want the defense to get them the ball back, or they're trying not to get beat because they don't want to get shot on. Offensive guys and goalies. Just saying. I just summed up the whole status of lacrosse.
It was good.
All right, so this has been a really fun podcast. We're done.
It's a wrap.
You got a cutter spot in there.
Check, please.
Cutter spot. Oh, Sean, you beauty!